The Anatomy of the 15th Century. The Anatomy of the 15th Century Ledger, the three books that built capitalism. Part 1. The Chaos of the Marketplace. Imagine Venice in 1494. It is the Silicon Valley of the Renaissance. The air smells of salt, cloves, and unrefined silk. Ships are docking from the Levant, and merchants are shouting in a dozen different dialects. In this chaos, fortunes are made and lost in a single afternoon. But there was a problem. As trade grew, the human memory failed. A merchant could not remember every debt, every grain of pepper sold on credit, or every florin spent on ship repairs. Without a system, commerce was just noise. Luca Pacioli. He wasn't a businessman. He was a monk and a mathematician. He realized that for a merchant to truly know his business, he needed a physical brain outside of his body. He proposed a system of 3 specific books. These books didn't just record numbers, they created a structured reality that we still inhabit today. Part 2. The Memoriale, the raw data. The first book was the Memoriale, also known as the Waste Book or Day Book. Think of the Memoriale as the raw data layer. In the heat of the marketplace, you don't have time for elegant formatting. If a customer buys 3 bolts of velvet and promises to pay you in salt next Tuesday, you simply grab your quill and scribble it down. Pacioli insisted that the Memoriale be kept in chronological order. No transaction was too small. If you bought a cup of wine for a client, it went in. If you paid a porter to carry a crate, it went in. There was no accounting logic here yet, just the truth of what happened as it happened. The modern evolution. In the 21st century, the Memoriale has been replaced by the digital receipt. When you snap a photo of a lunch bill with an app like Dext or HubDoc, or when your bank feed imports a $4 coffee purchase, that is your Memoriale. It is the unorganized, chronological evidence of life. It is the input before the intelligence. Part 3. The Giornale, the translation. At the end of the day, when the candles were lit and the shutters were closed, the merchant moved to the second book, the Giornale, or the journal. This is the most critical step in the Pacioli method. The Giornale is where story becomes accounting. You take the messy entry from the Memoriale and translate it into the language of double entry. Pacioli instructed merchants to use 2 specific words, per, for from, and a, to. Per, cash, a sales. Per, inventory, a accounts payable. Every entry had to be balanced. For every action, the debit, there had to be an origin, the credit. This was the birth of the translation layer. It turned a list of events into a mathematical proof. If you couldn't balance the Giornale, you didn't move forward. You stayed up until the math matched the reality of the Memoriale. The modern evolution today, this is the general journal in software like Xero or QuickBooks. Most of the time, the software does this translation for you. When you categorize a transaction, the AI is acting as the 15th century clerk, deciding which accounts are affected and ensuring the A equals L plus E equation remains perfectly balanced. Part 4. The Quaderno, the masterpiece. Finally, we reach the Quaderno, the ledger. If the journal is a movie of the business, happening in time, the ledger is a map of the business, organized by location. In the Quaderno, every person, every asset, and every expense has its own page. In the 15th century, if you wanted to know how much you owed the spice merchant in Cairo, you didn't scroll through 3 months of journals. You turned to the Cairo merchant page in your Quaderno. This is where we see the legendary T account. On the left, debito, he owes. On the right, credito, he trusts, gives. The Quaderno was the world's first database. It allowed a merchant to see their financial position at any moment. By looking at the totals of the Quaderno, a merchant could create a summa or a balance sheet. They could see for the first time in history the soul of their business in one single view. The modern evolution. The quaderno is the chart of accounts and the trial balance. In modern software, you don't write in the ledger. The ledger is generated automatically from your journal entries. When you pull up a profit and loss report, you are simply looking at a summarized version of your digital quaderno. Part 5. Why this system never dies. Why does this anatomy matter 500 years later? Because it represents a security protocol. The three-book system created a paper trail that was almost impossible to fake. If a merchant tried to hide a loss, the quaderno wouldn't balance. If the quaderno didn't balance, the error could be traced back to the giornale. If the giornale looked suspicious, the merchant could demand to see the original raw data in the memorial. It was a system of truth. Today we talk about audit trails and cloud accounting as if they are new inventions. But they are just Pacioli's ghost in a new machine. Even the blockchain, the most advanced financial technology we have, is essentially a decentralized quaderno. It is a shared ledger where everyone agrees on the A and the per. Conclusion, Luca Pacioli once said, "The merchant's big goal is to make a lawful and reasonable profit." By breaking the business down into these three books, he gave us the tools to be both profitable and honest. Whether you use a quill or a keyboard, you are part of a 530-year-old tradition. You are not just doing books, you are maintaining the anatomy of civilization.